Alrighty, so my name is Vakhtiyar Shah, and I'm associated with this brand called Agri RP. We're doing a lot of things within the ag space and creating bunch of technologies and transforming overall the landscape. So what we thought about was to get more insight from folks who are working in the industry and who are positioning towards the thought leadership group. And that's why we reached out to you as well to get some insights about how the 2025 is going on. And to be told, it within the last few weeks, things have shaped up differently as we expected. So, if you can start with basic intro from your side, and then some thoughts about 2025, and then I can talk about some questions if that's okay.
Yeah, perfect. I can start with my background. Thank you for the opportunity, first off, to join you. So a little bit of my background and maybe some of the reasons why your audience might be interested in my perspective. I grew up on a farm in southeast Iowa, so we were a diversified row crop and grain farm and a livestock farm. So I've worked in agriculture really my entire life. I've been exposed to it from a young age. Knew I wanted to pursue a career in agriculture, but I didn't know exactly what sector of the industry I wanted to work within. So I actually started my career as an ag journalist and broadcaster covering a variety of different topics with a heavy emphasis, I would say, on commodity markets and the financial side of the business, as well as really the international trade policy sectors as well and how that's tied into the profitability at the farm level, and also a heavy emphasis on ag technology and systems, I would say as well. I worked as a journalist and I still do a little bit today, but about 4.5 years ago, I launched a digital marketing agency that's focused on serving small to medium-sized agriculture clients to support their efforts in telling their story in marketing and sales. A lot of the clients we work with today are B2C, so they are serving farmers and ranchers with a heavy emphasis in our customer base of clients that we work with being located in the crop protection, crop seeds, fertilizers, traits, etc., as well as a couple of other industries such as risk management as well. But that's a little bit of my background.
Amazing, amazing. So that does make it relevant for our audience. Yeah, so my question would be how important technology adoption is within the ag space and how it's evolving over the year, please, in your thought.
I think that's a great question, especially when we think about really the makeup of the agriculture industry, right? We hear this term oftentimes that the average age of the farmer is increasing. It's about 59, 60 years of age. And so as we look at maybe the segments within our farming audience, I really think we see two segments, maybe let's say 45 to 50 plus, and then the sub 50-year-old farmers. So not only are we seeing a really rapid shift in age acceleration, and maybe some farmers, I don't think that all older farmers don't like technology, but I would say that group of people is maybe less excited about adopting new technology and innovation on the farm compared to the sub 50 group. So when we look at that sub 50 group of farmers, not only are they excited about technology, and some in the older demographic as well, but they're excited about adapting technology. They're interested and eager in learning it. But I think it comes with a degree of hesitation. You definitely have some that are really early innovators and adapters, but I would say most farmers fall in maybe that cautiously optimistic phase where they're trying new technology, new traits on the farm, new products like biologicals. They're trying those things, but they're doing it in a very small and focused way to ensure that it's going to add profitability or value to their farm before they just dive right in. I think the other side of that factor to consider is the acceleration at which that older generation of farmers are going to be transitioning out. Again, the average age of a farmer is around 60 years old. USDA, this is a couple years old now, but USDA has some data showing how quickly we're going to see farm acceleration transitions happen. Over the next 10 to 15 years, 70% of all family farms will transition to the next generation or risk maybe going out of business, transitioning to a different family, commercialization, a lot of different factors that'll go in there. So I think as we look at that acceleration of older farmers maybe migrating out of the industry. We're going to lose some of that tacit knowledge that those folks have. And we're going to see technology, I think, come into play in a much different way because we're going to be losing an immense part of our workforce as those farmers shift out, maybe to the next generation.
Amazing, amazing. And in terms of emerging technologies, these buzzwords like artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning, precision agriculture, how the positioning or the communication is affecting these impact words, and how the real impact is, how much.
Yeah, artificial intelligence has been one we talk a lot about, both with our clients that we work with and then also farmers. So, my husband also farms, as well as my father in law and my family. So, I get to have these conversations both at a client level and at a very personal level as well. And I think the interesting thing to note about artificial intelligence in particular is it seems really scary, foreign, maybe a little nerve-wracking that robots might be taking over the world or
Yeah.
ChatGPT might be writing something for me. But the reality is, we've been using artificial intelligence for a long time. If you think about smartphones, your Siri, for example, that is artificial intelligence. And a lot of people have smartphones. A lot of people probably use Siri to do various things. Or if you are an emailer and you're going in to write an email and it guesses the next few words you want to say in that sentence, that's another example of artificial intelligence. So the reality is we've been using it on all platforms for a long time, including those of us in the ag and farming side. But I think it's scary this time because it's a little bit of the Wild West. People are figuring out how to use it. How do we use it maybe efficiently? I think people are also scared that it's going to replace jobs and people. And at the end of the day, the one thing that artificial intelligence really can't do yet, maybe someday it will, but it really can't grasp and understand the human component of emotion. And so I think it's important for us to understand and start learning and testing things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc., because those are going to continue to be a big part of our daily lives. However, it's also important to understand that those aren't coming to replace our jobs. It's really a way to enhance the things we're already doing and kind of work smarter, not harder.
Amazing, amazing. And this brings to my second question. Connecting one to this, I usually ask about the geoeconomic problems, the social factors, the political factors. But in the last few weeks, the tariffs, international tariffs, has been a big discussion point. So, what are your thoughts on that? How it's shaping the industry altogether, and what are your speculations for future as well from farm marketing and agriculture marketing point of view?
I think the reality is a large population of the agriculture industry probably voted for President Trump. We knew when we voted for him as a population that this was his stance on trade. He's been very vocal. He put tariffs in place in his last administration. He's very transparent, I would say, as far as what he's going to do and following through on that action. I think maybe the concern for this administration versus his first time in office is this time around it was very fast. It was very aggressive. The number of tariffs put into place, it was over 185 countries that have tariffs put in place. All of those, for the most part, are paused now, per some of his recent announcements. But it was, I think, jarring for our industry because of the pace and the amount of tariffs that have happened. So if we think beyond maybe the next 90 days, there's going to be a lot of trading partners that come to the table to try to remedy the situation. We've already seen that with Japan, Italy, Vietnam, just to name a few. Those three countries in particular have already been in negotiations with the Trump administration to try and figure out a path forward. How that affects us, I think, at a farmer level is our inputs have already been expensive at elevated prices, and our commodity prices have been low. We're in a down cycle. So now we're adding another level of complexity and volatility to the markets where our input prices will likely continue to go up if we see tariffs remain effect. It also means that on the world market, because of the tariffs that other countries have put in place on US goods going out, our ability to trade with other countries is going to be impacted as well, because as we think about the commodities that we're sending beyond our borders, those now have tariffs on them, meaning our price is going to be more expensive than other competitors such as Brazil or Argentina or Germany or France. So the cost of goods we're buying is going to go up, but also our ability to trade with other partners long term. And so I think the long-term play here that President Trump really is leaning into is bringing those people to the table to try to negotiate a better deal for the United States longer term. But he's also really focused on developing domestic marketplaces. So keeping products local to the United States, how do we increase demand for things like soybeans or corn or beef or dairy? So a lot of different factors at play here, and time will tell how all of those things shape up and come together.
You're absolutely right. I do agree with that. But the point is, it's too early to take an opinion on it. And that's my personal judgment that let it be settled the news. We all knew when the votes were there that it's inevitable. But that's fine. So my next question would be in terms of the climate change, what's your opinion on the climate change and the awareness level and how it's related with the technology, marketing, and the agriculture industry all together? Because it's directly correlated with all of them in some way.
It is. And I think, especially here in the United States, farmers have some heartburn around the wording climate change. But the reality is, the climate is constantly evolving and changing, and we all have an impact in that. I work with a client who is an international nonprofit. They're called the Global Farmer Network. In effect, they have members from about 70 different countries. There is about 300 different members. And so at least once a year, I get to engage with other farmers from other countries. And it's interesting to note the way most other countries view climate change versus how the United States views it. I would say here in the United States, and I'm not trying to be condescending or judgmental in any way, but I would say here in the United States, most farmers don't like it. They don't believe in it. They don't maybe understand the importance we play really in impacting the climate. And I would say we take a little bit of a defensive approach. In a lot of other countries, they're taking a very aggressive, offensive approach and looking for ways to mitigate climate change. They're looking for environmental practices to implement. And most importantly, though, I think they're willing to be engaged in that conversation. I would say there are some farmers in the United States who are willing to be a part of that conversation. And a lot of farmers use technology to be good stewards of the land, things like cover crops, no-till, different seed and crop rotations, different things on the livestock side to reduce waste and methane emissions. So farmers are, I think, naturally stewards of the land and environment. We're just maybe for whatever reason here in the United States, less willing to be a part of that conversation. But I would say globally, there's a huge movement toward pushing that conversation, but also pushing new technology that will help us do a better job of mitigating the effects of the changing climate. And I think that's a bright spot for technology is how do we use it to work smarter, work more efficiently, do more with less. And there are certainly a lot of interesting companies that are pushing forward in this space. And it's a conversation that I think needs to continue to happen.
No, definitely, I agree. I agree. Very well said. Now, moving to ag culture, can you brief our audience more about your services and what verticals specifically you specialize in, and how the ag culture is providing value to the customer base and to the vendors and to the industry overall?
Yeah, absolutely. So Agculture Marketing, my agency, really was a brainchild of starting my career on the journalist side. I saw a lot of great stories and got to tell stories, if you will, of the farmers and ranchers in the industry. And as I was moving through my career, I really started to fall in love with the marketing side, which is how are companies telling their story to farmers and ranchers. And so I think that storytelling component is really at the core what our business is based off of. We have about 9 employees today. Everybody's fully remote across the United States, and we work with a variety of clients, like I said earlier, mostly in crop protection, so seed, fertilizer, chemicals, biologicals has been a big space. We work with some in the risk management space, so brokerage firms, newsletter services, financial advisors for farmers and ranchers, and then a couple in equipment and OEMs, nonprofits, for example. So we work with a
Is it
variety.
okay to name some of them?
Yeah, I mentioned one earlier. That was the Global Farmer Network. They're a nonprofit client. Another really neat one, when you think about technology, I'd love to highlight too, is a company called Interpose Ag. The founder of the company, Zach Youngquist, is actually a farmer who a few years ago was challenged by maybe some boundaries placed on his farm and his ability to find a fertilizer product that worked well for his area in Illinois. So Zach just took it upon himself about 8 or 9 years ago, I think now, to start developing his own fertilizer. So he still farms. He also has a seed dealership, and now he's started a fertilizer business as well, Interpose Ag. So I think we're also going to see, as we think about that evolution of technology coming, there is this underlying culture within maybe younger farmers of farmers who are interested in doing things differently, who are maybe looking at sustainability or environmental impact, or are looking at the labor challenges we face. And I think we're starting to see this really interesting subgroup of agriculture that is very entrepreneurial, very business minded. And we're seeing some interesting products like biologicals, fertilizers, equipment come out of the industry that are started by farmers, really with the intention for helping themselves on the farm. But I think we're seeing some interesting companies come up now of clients like that who started it for themselves, really, but are creating this bigger movement within the ag industry.
And do you think that generational difference is the key over here, or education, or more aligned with the modern society and more aligned with the global phenomena and awareness, more awareness as compared to the traditional, conventional first generation farmers who are not very aligned globally, I would say, trying to be as sensitive as possible.
Yeah, no, it's a topic for sure.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive topic. So, what are your thoughts on that? Is that the main reason, the generational difference, or is it have to do with other factors as well, other dynamics as well?
It's a great question. And I think about our farm, for example. So my husband farms with his father, but it's not full time. He also has an off the farm job. Between my husband and I, we actually have 5 different businesses. So we're very entrepreneurial minded in general. And I think it comes out of maybe this reality that a lot of us saw our parents go through, which was the farm crisis of the 80s. That was a really scary time. There's a lot of history around that, a lot of sensitivity around that. And I think it's maybe that next generation. So again, sub 45 years of age. I think it's that generation that has seen how hard our parents and grandparents worked and said, I think we can do this differently. Not saying what they did was wrong. They worked really hard. They got through that really tough time. And so I think our generation has looked at it more of an opportunity to say, how do we avoid those pitfalls? How can we learn from some of those things that have happened in the past and work smarter as an industry? Again, you think about the average age of the farmer being 60. That actually seems young to me when I think about some farmers I know. But they're working until they're 75, 80 years old. And so I think a lot of people our generation are thinking, yes, this is a lifestyle. It's also a business. How do we do things more efficiently and have maybe that balance of working hard, having a farm, having a career, but also having the ability to do things beyond the farm level?
Amazing, amazing. Now, coming to the marketing side of things, this is an industry which was very conventional when it comes marketing, a lot of networking, a lot of road shows, conferences, hard copies, printed magazines, billboards, all those, right? Very ATL, type of marketing. So how it has evolved in the digital marketing era, and is it going to the an accelerated approach towards adoption for digital marketing avenues, and trying to understand the importance of brand and earned media as well. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, a lot of thoughts on that. Again, I'm going to go maybe back to that segment customer base. So there's a lot of industry research, including outlets like Successful Farming. They do third-party research every year. The National Association of Farm Broadcasting, the Ag Media Relations Council. So there is a lot of information available for people sitting in a marketing role to understand farmers' use of media. What we're seeing, though, research continues to show us over the last few years is farmers are actually just consuming more media. So it's not that they're favoring maybe one platform, whether that's digital or traditional. In general, farmers are just hungry for more information. So they're going to new places like podcasts or digital, but they're still listening to radio, they're still consuming magazines. I think there's a little bit of generational divide too, of maybe older farmers have more traditional media tendencies compared to younger farmers. But in general, across all age ranges, farmers are just really hungry for more information. And I think that creates an opportunity in marketing, especially to think about how are you showing up and adding value to that conversation, if you will. So it's really farmers are searching for more information, how to make better decisions, how to do things smarter, some thought leadership where they're looking for new partners and building more relationships, and they're just looking for more information. So with the clients that we work with, we really try to strive for what we call an omni-channel presence, which is across lots of different platforms, both traditional media and digital media, because there are farmers still very much on both types. And so, again, thinking about that story that you're trying to tell, farmers and people really like to do business with other people. People are ultimately buying a product or buying from a company because of the story that resonates with them. So really thinking back to that storytelling aspect of how are you showing up and adding value to the customers that you want to work with.
So, is it safe to assume that it's going through a transition from conventional to digital as compared to industries which are more involved in terms of advertising, marketing, industries like entertainment, information technology, science, automotive, fashion as well? So, is ACT going through, because it's a very conventional industry, not everyone is aligned with it. It's difficult in some parts, right? So, do you think it's a transition?
I think somewhat it's a transition, but again, I think it's less of a transition from traditional media like newspapers, radio, print to digital. And it's more of just, we want more of it. That's what the research has. But the other thing maybe to keep in mind is when we think about agriculture compared to other segments like manufacturing or healthcare or banking, ag is, like you said, a conventional audience. We're a little slower to adopt to new things. So typically we see ag, media, and marketing about 5 years behind some of those other industries that are really pushing the envelope as far as new ideas and innovation. So agriculture does transform and innovate as well. It just happens a little bit slower than maybe some of the other segments that we see across the US economy.
Perfect, perfect. And in terms of spends, because that's a related aspect to it, because the users are consuming a lot of data, they are more impatient to get more updates, more feeds, and only way to reach every nowadays, from point of view, that's a industry standard that nowadays that you have to push the content a lot, push your story a lot. So has the advertising expenditure also increased over the years?
I think this year we're actually seeing budgets pull back a bit. There's some uncertainty related to trade and tariffs, especially when you think about companies in the crop input space. They might be getting raw materials, minerals, vitamins, etc., from other countries, or they might be importing things like potash, phosphorus, etc. So I think in reality, this year and maybe last year into this year, we've started seeing some budgets slow down when it comes to marketing and advertising dollars. Because just like farmers, businesses have to weather the storm of a lower commodity cycle. So I think budgets
But that's related to the global market and
right.
global ripple effect.
Exactly.
kind of a situation. But comparing it to pre-COVID era, I would say, I don't know, now we can have an era which we can relate to. But comparing it to pre-COVID era, do you think the appetite has become more?
I think it has, again, because farmers have shown us they want more. So I think that tells companies we need to develop more. I think the caution I would warn for people is, are you developing content just to develop it? Or are you really developing it to fill a void that doesn't exist today? We talk a lot with our clients about what is your unique differentiator. So it has to be unique to your company. Nobody else can claim it. So by you saying, oh, we're really good at customer service, a lot of companies can say that. So it's really something that's specific to your company. It's measurable. You can put some sort of number or data to it, and it's unique. So those are really, I think, a way to position yourself in the market is, am I serving a need that my customers may not be getting today? And if I'm not serving a need, is this content that's really needed, or am I just putting it out there because I think that's what I should be doing?
No, no, absolutely. And in terms of the agriculture technology, ag tech space, what are the areas do you think have the most potential growth and has the most potential for growth and it's been utilized by masses? What are the key areas do you think within the ag tech space specifically that would be relevant moving down the years?
Definitely startups or technology that is addressing our labor concern. It's not we have in agriculture, it's across many other sectors as well. But it's maybe exacerbated in agriculture because so much of what we do is still requires a human component. So I think companies that are focused on how to, again, do things smarter, not harder. It's not saying we're going to remove a person altogether out of doing something, but how can we remove maybe some of the dangerous factors that we see here in agriculture, the dirty factors, and just overall elevate the employees that are working within agriculture to do more things and take some of the menial, hard labor tasks off the plate, knowing, hey, we don't have as many people. We need to be a little more efficient with our workforce. So I think that's a really big area of focus that we're seeing companies place. And I think that's going to continue to be a huge area of growth and opportunity moving forward.
Absolutely. Okay. Now coming to just to give you an idea about AgriARP itself, I don't know how much you know about us. I'll share some stuff with you and we can stay connected. But just to give you a high level 10,000 feet, what we're doing in the agtech space. So AgriARP is a brainchild of a software company called Folio 3. We are founded in the Bay Area by two MIT alums back in the internet era. Right? And over the years, we have evolved along. We partnered with Family Farms Grow and created a product. We were servicing a lot of agriculture clients, but we did not had a solution or a product. We were doing custom solutions for them for traceability, for different kind of pesticide applications, spraying, harvesting, all those, right? So what we utilized was creating an integrated solution, utilize some core ERP software from Microsoft and combined it with a suite of applications from our site and created a whole system, a very omni-channel experience. You start with your planning to eventually to your sales, production, marketing, crop planning, season planning, all those things. So we developed that solution. I'll share some stuff with you so you can have a look at it. And it was amazing inside. Really appreciate it. Do you have any questions for me?
I don't think so. When do you think that this will be distributed or aired, or I don't know what?
Yeah. Let me give you an idea about the next steps. So the reason for recording this is to make sure that we don't miss out anything. We have the transcript and everything. So our team will compile all these things. They will share drafts with you before publishing anything without prior your approval or prior your knowledge. So once they're done with it, so within a week's time, within a week's time, so our team will reach out to you on email and share the first draft so you can have a look at
Okay.
it, and then they will share the links with you once they publish it. Obviously,
Great.
it would require your consent on it.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds good. And I'll be sure to share it from my social channels.
Yeah,
to
that's
help
what we
us-
are expecting.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
this is a part of a series, Talks by AgriRP, and we're trying to continue this. And I see a sense of synergy. Agriculture is doing amazing things, so we will be getting in touch with you on a different discussion or a different time.
Yeah,
Thank you for your time, Delaney. It was really lovely talking to you,
perfect.
and have a good day. Best wishes for
Thank you.
agriculture.
Thank you. You as
Thank
well.
you. Have a good bye.
You too. Bye bye.